Okay, so welcome everybody, and welcome to the webinar. And the reason I put this webinar on is that I came up with Bianca. I discovered her, I found her, and I got really excited because what she had to say and the way she did it, we were right on the same wavelength. So it's really exciting to have her. I've just got to mute a couple of people. Sorry, Claire, but I've got to, so we don't hear that background noise. So welcome, Bianca.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right. So with what I've found over the years since the introduction of digital and especially with photographers, you know, their marketing and whatever, and Facebook came along and we all got confused, and you can probably tell I sound confused and not sure what to do about all this time wasting that we spend on Facebook, Pinterest, and all the rest of the social media. So we seem to waste a lot of our time on it. Do you agree, Bianca?
It depends on how you define wasting time, but yeah, we do sometimes spend a little bit more time on there and sort of, yeah, lose a bit of time. Our focus sort of deviates. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say wasting time, but it's really how you use that time on social media.
But some of the things I feel we're wasting time on is that we don't know what content to put there, and we don't know what we're trying to achieve. Do you agree with that?
Yes, a lot of people just pretty much jump on the bandwagon because everyone's doing it, so I'll do it, and I'll send a few loose messages out there, and then people get confused because they don't get followers. So yeah, it's really important to sort of know what you are trying to do with it, what your aim is, and who you're talking to. Otherwise it's just, yeah, it just becomes very disjointed.
Yeah, and we don't know what's effective either. We just, we're a little bit lost. The other thing I find that people, you know, a lot of small business people are not copywriters, okay, so they don't know what words to put down there. Do you agree with that?
Yes, writing is it's something that not necessarily comes naturally. Some people actually are born writers, and some people struggle with it. But I think there are ways around it. I think most of us just get a little bit confused because there is so much out there, and we sort of get a bit of a clouded vision because we read other people's things and think that that's what we need to do.
Correct.
But there are other ways to sort of work around it. It doesn't necessarily need to be an essay. No one likes reading a lot. A lot of us are very visual. I think things are changing towards visual things. So that's, yeah, there's something out there for everyone, really.
Yeah, and the other thing is, you know, we don't know what social media platform to look at, or Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of that. So we get confused, we try and do them all, and we just find time gets away and we're getting no return.
Yeah, well, don't try to do them all. That's definitely my piece of advice. Really, you need to know your audience, and when you know your audience, you know who your ideal client is, then you can find out where you should be online. And as a sort of basic rule, I would say that don't try to do more than 3 because you just can't do all of it. It's too hard to. Social media is all about engagement and having a conversation, and you can't do that in 10 different places.
Yeah.
So yeah, go with 3. Facebook is pretty much the #1. It has the most users, so that's one that I would definitely say go with, and then look at sort of other places where your ideal customer might hang out.
Okay, so I wanted to talk to an expert. Now, I think you're an expert. You may not, but you know, you've got the runs on the board, so to speak. And I'm just going to have to make a couple of changes here because we've got a full board. So you're originally from the Netherlands, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay. And
over 10 years ago.
Over 10 years, great. And you've sort of got some qualification with what we're talking about, right? You've got a certificate of marketing, Bachelor of Business, Bachelor of Arts. So you've been pretty busy, right? Studying.
I am, yes, I am pretty busy. I like to keep busy, and definitely have an interest in it. Social media is one of the things that it's not necessarily integrated into qualifications and degrees in Australia at the moment. So it's a lot of just, trying things and just self-taught as well, reading a lot of blogs and going to a few workshops and things.
So
like
you
that.
actually love this thing, this social media thing?
I do love it.
You
yes.
can't get enough of it, looking at all the study you must have done, and then you do it as a hobby as well.
Yeah, I love it.
So that's right. So it's fantastic. So making the most of our time, this is what this webinar is about, and we've discussed a couple of things like, putting our time to use with doing the right things. So that's what we're going to do today, and it's a short presentation today because we want to sort of keep it to half an hour because we know people are busy because they haven't got a lot of time. So we just thought we'd look at five things that we could help people just to give them some direction. So let's talk about knowing your audience, and you put that as number one. So
Yes.
what are your comments on that?
All right, knowing your audience, I think it's really important to know who you want to talk to. So, you're not just going to talk to everyone. Most businesses know that they have a client that is their ideal client. So with social media, don't get focused on the numbers. Don't get as many followers as you possibly can because it's all about quality, not quantity. You can have 10,000 followers, but if only 5 people interact with your content, then everyone else is, you're wasting your time on them. Mm-hmm. So you really need to know who, in marketing terms, your target customers are. I would like to call them your ideal customers. So what I do with my clients, I usually sit down with them and I say, okay, who's your ideal client? Picture your ideal client, and that could be one of the clients you already have or one of the clients that you want to have, so absolutely ideal. So give them a name, you might say, okay, Jane is my ideal client and she's 30 years old and she works in the city and she makes this much money. Yep. She likes going out for coffees. Mm-hmm. On the weekend she goes for a run and she takes a dog to the park, and literally think about who this person is that you're trying to target. And then by doing that, by really visualizing who that person is, most of us can think about where they hang out. So, for example, with Jane,
Could we just, we should really do some market research then. We could ask Jane, couldn't we? Maybe we've got our best clients, maybe our top 5 spenders. We could maybe get more information on where they eat, where they, what coffee they drink, whatever. So we could do market research.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I'm all about surveying your clients. So if you can get a few questions out of them. So how did they find out about you is definitely a good one as well. Where do they like to spend their time, online, offline? If you can go that far in asking that question, it's pretty much gold.
Yeah.
So yeah, knowing everything about your clients, like knowing them almost personally, that I find really important, because then you can figure out where you need to go and what kind of message you want to be sending.
Just on that, I've got a client who is sort of top 5 or his top 10 clients. He gets them together and they have in a cafe or something, and he just asks them a lot of questions. So he has it's like his board, it's like his, it's a sounding board for him to progress his marketing and get the right clients.
Yep, definitely. That's a great idea to do. Yep.
Okay, so the ideal client, we're looking for them. Okay. So that's the first step.
Yeah, knowing who you want to talk to and what they're interested in.
Okay. So let's look at the next step. What would you say the next step was?
The next step would be choosing the channels. So the question that most people go like, well, where do I start? Which social media platforms do I get onto?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like I mentioned before, don't try to do them all. It's definitely not manageable. So once you know your client, you can figure out where they spend their time. If you can ask them the question, even better. I would say Facebook is the #1 at the moment. It has the most followers, and YouTube is second. But it depends on if you can create that type of content. If you are looking to market to females that and people that like visual content, people that are interested in food and photography and design, then definitely hop onto Pinterest and into Instagram.
Right.
They're definitely a good one to push. And with these, like the best way to do it, if you do Pinterest, link it back to your website. So pin it from your website. I know that might sound like very difficult to speak, but
Yeah.
Yeah, you can upload to Pinterest or you can pin from your website. If you pin from your website, people can find your photos back and link back to your website. So everything always needs to be directed back to your website.
So you always keep it going a circle within your website, within your Pinterest, within your YouTube channel. You keep sending people in a circle so they're always directed to you somewhere in social media.
Yes. Definitely. I would say as a rule, the website should always be your home base. It's where you want people to either start or end up. Like everything should be directed back to your website because that's where people can always find you. That's where people can buy your product or your service. So yeah, direct everything back to your website.
Yeah, that's great.
And make it easy for people to find you. So if you do have a Facebook page, put your website on it, put your contact details on it. There's nothing more frustrating than not being able to find how to contact someone or how to purchase their services.
Yeah, and you know what you say is true. You just have to know what you're doing, and you know, when I first chatted to you, you just got your head on this. You just understand it, so it's great.
Yeah,
so,
I think I grew up with it.
Well, I say I was born with a camera in my hand, but you were born with a, you'd got the intelligence to understand it, and that's the hard thing. It is for me, and I think it is for most people.
Yeah.
As I said to you yesterday, it's like, some people can read music. How do they do that?
Yes.
Just a natural
Something
thing.
I can't.
Something
Yeah, definitely. I can't read
right.
music.
So let's look at the next thing, a third one.
Yeah, using the tools.
What are the tools? Tell me about the tools. I want the tools.
Yep, you want the tools. Okay, so obviously no one, like you said, you're born with, you feel like you're born with a camera in your hand.
Yeah.
I've had to learn my tools. I've had to learn what I do. So nothing ever in this arena comes natural. You do have to invest a little bit of time to learn how to do it. There's no magic wand. It's not click your fingers and it happens. But there are things that can make things easier for you. So if you learn how to use the tools, I use scheduling tools. So I'm not on social media every day, even though sometimes it seems like I am, but it's all it's all fake. It's all scheduled.
Okay.
So I take breaks from social media, but because I schedule posts and things to go out on social media, I don't have to be on it all the time. It is good to be in that conversation, so try to go on social media every now and then to check and to have that conversation, because no one just wants to be no one wants to have selling and marketing in their face all the time. It is really about building a connection and not just sharing what you have to offer, also share what you do, share something about your day, share things from other people's sites that might be helpful for your readers. So there's a lot of different sort of content that you can do. But back to using the tools, you can schedule it. I have a few different methods, and there's new ones all the time. So I keep trying and testing and seeing what works. At the moment, because I have a WordPress website, I'm using CoSchedule. So it is an app within WordPress that allows me to write my blog posts in WordPress and then through CoSchedule send it out to my readers. So through my blog, I can link it to Pinterest, I can link it to Twitter, to Facebook. So when my blog post gets sent out, it automatically sends it out through all these other platforms. So I don't have to wait until my blog post is live and then go, I posted this and share that on Twitter or on Facebook. It just happens automatically because I've scheduled that. So that's one of the tools. The same goes for some of the other tools like Hootsuite, TweetDeck, Social Oomph. There's Buffer. There's a few different ways of doing it. The reason I like to use CoSchedule is because it is within my WordPress, so I don't have to go to another website. I'm already writing the blog post in WordPress, so I'm going with CoSchedule in the same platform. But have a look at, because not everyone's on WordPress, have a look at what you are doing. Buffer is quite a good one as well.
Is that BUFFER? Because it's not on the list there.
Yeah, it is BUFFER, so Buffer. So yeah, in that sense, it's really easy. You can then you can forget about it, but you can also schedule it. For example, what I do is I send out my blog post and then automatically send out through all the other platforms, but you can then say, I also want this to go out again in a week and a month. And so you keep sort of reusing that content and sending it out. So it's not just once. You want to keep people engaged. You want to redirect people back to it. And that drives up your web traffic as well, because you keep directing people back to it. The other thing that I also use is with my newsletters. I schedule that, and I know a lot of people go, oh, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to write about. So the way I work is I listen to what people ask me, I listen to the questions people ask me, and if you have 6 questions and you can answer that in a newsletter or in a blog post, that's 6 months of content if you blog monthly or send newsletters monthly. So, there's a lot of ways to come up with topics, especially, if you get asked a lot of questions, see if you can answer that in a blog post or in a newsletter. And then schedule that as well. So if you schedule things, I spend a few hours writing up content for 6 months at a time. I schedule it and I don't have to think about it for another few months. So you can get back to your work and focus on what you're doing.
Is that really one of the keys, that you have to allocate half a day or a day and say, right, I'm not doing anything else but setting this up. When it's done, it's automated and I don't have to think about it. I can do other forms of marketing or whatever to increase my business. You can get back to what you're doing rather than just constantly being in this loop of social media. So the thing is, though, Bianca, some of us are addicted to Facebook. How do we conquer that addiction?
There are actually, I think I'm one of those people. But
are you?
I try to justify it to myself. No, it is really important to just be disciplined and just switch off from it. So I have a rule that I don't take any phone calls or anything before 10 o'clock. I don't have anything open that can distract me. I literally, that first part of the day for me is just head down and go for it. Don't want any distractions. So you need to, that's all to do with self-discipline. There are tools that that you can use. I haven't used any of them, but there are like tools that block certain websites for a certain time frame. Like you can schedule it in and it won't let you in there because you said, no, I don't want to.
Okay. So you have to use tools to control your behavior. Interesting.
Pretty much. If you, if you're not disciplined enough, but if you want to get your work done, get it done. Facebook, there's hardly there's hardly anything new on there. Just, you spend half an hour on it a day and that's enough because, it's like soap operas. Nothing new happens.
And I suppose if you just utilize the tools and you do your automated system, and that's business, right? That's business, and that's out the way. Then you can do some social Facebook if you want.
Yes, I do definitely think that's important because it is about creating that conversation. It's not about just pushing out content. It is about engaging. So like other people's posts, comment, have a conversation with, either with your client or even with other like-minded business owners.
Yeah.
I'm all for collaborations. So there's a lot of things that you can do, especially on Facebook. It's really important to have that engagement so that people interact with your posts and you interact with other people's posts, because that's how your content shows up in people's newsfeed. The more engagement, the more people like it and interact with it, the higher it goes in people's news feeds.
Okay, so just continuing on creating a daily plan, you sort of mentioned that a little bit. Do you just want to tell us a little more? I think for a daily plan, so there's your monthly sort of things where you schedule everything and get everything done. On a day-to-day basis, I think it's important to sort of think about what you want to do, what you think is manageable. Don't feel like you need to be on there 24/7. Don't feel like you need to post 5 things a day or 10 things a day. Do what is manageable for you. If you can only do it once a day, that's fine. Do it once a day. Yeah.
And just really think about who you're talking to and what you are going to, to give them that content that they need and want.
Mm-hmm.
So make a schedule. If you are on Facebook, maybe say, I'm going to post maybe once a day, twice a day, but I'm also going to comment on someone else's post. On Twitter, I would say do a few retweets, but also post something maybe once a day. Twitter is really about that small conversation. I use Twitter more to network and collaborate rather than to find clients. I find that it's more sort of professionals and business owners on Twitter. So if you want to reach clients, depends on who your clients are, obviously. But have a look at Twitter whether or not it is right for you, because it is a little bit time consuming. With Pinterest, you can pin and repin images. So start a few Pinterest boards and make some inspiration and then start pinning your own images as well. Instagram it's definitely on the rise for businesses, but I'm still trying to find out whether or not there are actually any results coming from it. So it's all very new.
Yeah.
But it is fantastic for visual content. So if you are a photographer, Instagram is great, and it's not just photos from your iPhone. You can download the photos. What I do is I pull the photos out of my Dropbox. I have my iPhone hooked up to Dropbox, so I pull the photos out of Dropbox, save them onto my phone, and then Instagram them. And then I think that's a brilliant way to do things.
Yeah.
Show what you do.
Yeah, and for a photographer, I think that what they show anywhere on social media has to be outstanding, because now with Instagram and that, anyone can take a photo and change it to whatever they want, and make it look amazing. So as a photographer, you've got to be more amazing than amazing. You've got to be
Yeah.
double amazing, you know, if
Yes.
you want to show you're better than the average person out there.
Yeah.
Mike,
so yeah, use your actual photos. Yeah.
just a quick question because we're running out of time. Mike wants to know about hashtags.
Yes, hashtags. I would say go for no more than 5. I generally use 3, but think really, really carefully. Even do a search before you post something. So come up with a few hashtags that you think are relevant, and then go through the hashtag search and to see how many other photos come up or what type of other photos come up, because for me there's nothing more frustrating than having my whole Instagram stream full of hashtags that I barely even look at. I think the more you have, the less they stand out. Because I don't click on them. So have a few and pick them that are really, really relevant. So maybe 3 to 5 that are really relevant.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just move on to the last slide here. Number 5.
Yep. It might go against people's instincts, shutting it down. There's absolutely no reason to be tweeting, Facebooking, commenting on blogs 24/7. You need to shut it down. So when you're done in the office, you need to be done with social media for your business. There's no reason for it.
Close it down.
Yes. So this is where scheduling comes in really, really handy. So on the weekend, I sometimes look at my social media just because I'm interested in it. I've got nothing to do. I've got 5 minutes to spare on it.
Yeah.
But if I don't want to look at social media on the weekend, I don't look at it at all because I have scheduled posts. So I don't have to worry about it. There is something going up.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So you can have a life as well. Don't live your life on social media.
No, not at all. I would say for business, maybe 15 to 30 minutes each day as a minimum to look at it, but really make sure you stick to your timing because it is quite easy to lose track of time. But yeah, you have to be disciplined. You don't need to be there on it all the time.
So I've had a look at your website, and to me it looks like the perfect website. You've got the opt-in form on the front, the subscribe to newsletter, but you've really put it out there, and to get your Kickstarter kit. And when I subscribed, I've got that, and it's great. My social media Kickstarter kit, and I can't wait to get my monthly small business tips either. Delivered straight to my inbox. So if anyone out there wants to subscribe to Bianca and just the website itself, I find is a goldmine of information of how to do it. It's just fantastic. I just love it. And it's so simple. And you were telling me that you created this yourself. This website, you designed it and got it up there. How clever are you?
I'm not Superwoman.
But tell us.
I did do it myself. I have to say I didn't necessarily design it. It is a WordPress template. So some other very clever designers made it all look did all the coding behind it. I just put in the little bits and pieces that make it look pretty. So the colors and images and things like that. And the content obviously. So.
I know you're being humble. I know you've done a lot more than that. Just a quick couple of questions that we've got from Paul. Boosting post, does it work or does Facebook control it now? And is there value in paying for it?
Boosting posts, I would not necessarily. I'm still trialing things, so seeing what works. But advertising, ad posts through Facebook seem to be working better than actually boosting posts.
On newsfeed.
I'm actually.
On news.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So rather than just clicking, because Facebook is very clever. They put that that little button there, and it makes it really easy to click on it. But advertising seems to be getting better results than boosting posts. Can
you just tell me the difference? What's a boost and what's an advertising?
So boost is just pushing it through to the people that are your likers, to actually put it in their news feed. So it's kind of like, rather than doing it in that organic way where they have that engagement that pushes it up, it's sort of you giving it that extra kick. So it's putting it in front of the people that are already following you. With advertising, you can specify who you want to put. You want to put it in front of the people that already like you, or do you want to put it in front of new people? So it's a little bit different, in the way that it works.
Okay, and just another quick question before we go. Danielle asks, so if you're still trying hard to get your head around all of these platforms, where is a good place you can go to get information regarding them? Besides you, of course.
Yeah, there's a lot of information everywhere. I find Social Media Examiner quite useful. I also find the Female Entrepreneur Association very useful. They do a lot of videos. But yeah, there's a lot of people that I follow.
Okay, another one from Jeff is Hot Frog worth subscribing to? Does it help our website ratings?
I haven't actually looked into Hot Frog, so I'm not actually sure. I don't necessarily think subscribing to a lot of things help with website ratings. I think what helps with website ratings is your content. So the way you write, Google pretty much ranks websites on content. That's why I think a blog is so important, because you keep refreshing that content. When your page becomes static, Google loses interest.
Okay, and Paul asks, are ad posts on the right-hand side?
Sometimes, but there's a different way of doing ads on Facebook that bring them up in people's news feeds. So they actually look like a news post from your news feed, but they are an ad. And that's the ones I would focus on.
Right.
I might have to write some blog posts on this.
Well, there's
some
plenty
newsletters, so I can answer people's questions.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you'll get a lot of those. Now, I've got this offer here, and I think this is fantastic because it says offer only to the first 5 to email, right? $200 off, and I've taken one of those, right? So there's only 4 left. I know a bargain when I see one, right? So I was first off the rank with this. So if you want to really, understand all this, Bianca's got a great offer there. A social media. Which one is it? The social media Kickstarter or?
No, it's actually all of them. It's social media, email, newsletter, and the blogging. So we look at all of them. So
we just.
Pretty much 6 hours worth of my time.
Yeah, and we've only got 4 of them because you've got plenty of work to do anyway. So offer to the first 4 of email, and you can talk to Bianca about it and about progressing forward with her because she's fantastic. So that's great, Bianca. We've just run over time a little bit, which is cool, but how about, because we've had so much interest for this webinar, and I'd like to pick your brains further. Why don't we do one next week at the same time, 9:30, and why don't we just focus on Facebook?
Sounds good.
Yeah, happy to do that.
Yes.
So we'll just pick the most important one you say, and we can answer people's questions and perhaps open the mics up and thrash a Facebook ad for half an hour.
Sounds good.
All right.
I would be very happy to do that.
I just got a message, Mike. Everyone can probably see it, but he said the best money I have spent was with you.
It was
So,
great working with Mike.
yeah, well, there you go. And yeah, well, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to pay so I could not worry about it, so I could get you to really get involved and sort it out for me. So that's great. All right, so thank you everybody for attending. And of course, if you need any help with your business as a small business coach, I can certainly help you there. So we're going to do this next week again and just do it on Facebook. We'll send out a newsletter. Bianca will be sending out her newsletter. Opt into her newsletter form right on the front of the homepage of a website, and she'll give you a lot of information as well. So thanks everybody, and Bianca, thanks for that. That was great.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me.
That's all right, and we'll see you all next week.